This is not just another boombox. In 1997, a dog walking with a clutch and a cast leg was blasting the same boombox over the streets of New York. This is the setting for Daft Punk's music video Daft Punk, directed by Spike Jonze. Daft Punk's Homework is considered an undisputed classic of the 90s and shaped all of electronic and house music for the future to come. These are the samples that we're going to use. The samples are already loaded to the pool and they basically make up the beat apart from the sample Daft hit. We're going to start by loading up a sample and adjusting the ADSR so we can start by composing the main beat of the song. I also increased the volume of the sampler. So now we're going to the timeline and start writing the notes for the beat. Here, each sample will play 1/8 of the beat, and each sample will be different. So what we're going to do now is open the automation and automate the sample of the sampler to play a different sample. Now that we have the beat ready, we're gonna open up a parametric equalizer to take some of the bass out of this beat. We will then add another bass kick and bass sound to increase the basses on the whole track afterwards. So here we're just taking the sub out and increasing a little bit of the high frequencies of this beat. We now have the first track ready. We're now gonna add another bass drum, this time with the full bass on. We're gonna use a kick from the factory sound bank, adjust a little bit of the release, and basically put a kick on each of the beats of the 16-step sequencer. Let's now start by designing the main lead of this track. We're gonna open an oscillator, and the first thing we're going to do is raise the volume of the second oscillator and raise it 2 octaves. Some detuning to have a little bit more harmonics. We're gonna filter it really well. And then we're gonna increase the resonance of the filter and also the envelope amount modulating the cutoff. And the keyboard also modulating the cutoff of the filter. We now do some adjustments to the ADSR of the filter. We want a little bit of slow attack and a slow decay. We want to make the sound mono, have some portamento between notes to have that gliding effect. Some saturation. Actually, it almost reaches distortion. We are now adjusting the curves of the filter, e.g., so we can achieve a more round behavior of the filter on the sound. Here we are increasing the time of the filter decay, which we're gonna automate afterwards. We're now adding an LFO, so we can do a little bit of pitch modulation. But this modulation will only happen a little bit after the note is played. We're gonna make it happen about a little bit more than 1 second, and after that little bit more than 1 second it starts modulating. For effects, we're gonna start by adding a parametric equalizer and cutting some of the subs, increasing a little bit of the high frequencies as well, and then we open a burner which we're gonna use to saturate the sound with a high pass as well. Lastly, we open a parametric equalizer to increase some highs, and we use a compressor to do some sidechain with the kick. Daft Punk used to record their synths into a sampler and then played back through that sampler, making the decay slower with the pitch. We are now going to open a 08 hi-hat engine, tune the sound with some effects, and record the rhythm for the hi-hat. We are now going to add a sub-bass that it's playing on top of the kick with an oscillator that has 2 sawtooths on different octaves, but really filtered down to about 200 Hz. Next, we're going to tune it with a parametric equalizer to take some of the subs and control the mids. And to finalize it, we're going to add a burner to add some saturation. We are now going to add what I call Daft Hit. We are going to start by writing the rhythm of it and then opening up a sampler to play it. This sample is probably an orchestra hit with some distortion or something like that. So we're going to choose the sample on the sampler, tune the amplifier envelope by adding some decay, making it more snappy, controlling the release, and finally, we're going to add some volume. It's now time to add the acid line. For that, we're going to pick the Hoffman synthesizer, we're going to bring the volume a little bit down, and we're going to write the notes. Remember that to add slides, you have to put notes on top of each other, and you can control some decay by controlling the length of the notes. It's time now to start tuning the acid line. On Hoffman, we're going to drop the cutoff frequency to about 120 Hz, and we're going to do minimal tuning to the envelope, but we're going to increase the decay of the sound. After that, and very importantly, we're going to drop the accent to 25%, as well as turning on the distortion, increasing the drive, and the level of the sound. So, next step will be using some effects to increase the distortion of the sound even more with a burner, which we're going to start by dropping the output to control the overall volume of the sound, and then increasing the input to give it some drive. Lastly, we're going to put the high pass at maximum because we don't want to distort the low frequencies, and we want that distortion to be screaming on the mid frequencies. Finally, we open a parametric equalizer to take out the subs, and we open a compressor, which we're going to use to control the overall dynamics of the sound. Since we're going to use the cutoff filter to modulate the sound afterwards, we want a compressor to leave the sound under control. For that, we have medium ratio, and we're going to control the attack to be short so it responds really fast, and the release is going to be a little bit more slower. We want it also to be on a feedback mode, and let's put the style at 0. We are now going to automate the accent, and this is important because the accent increases the cutoff frequency and the volume of the sound, but at the same time, it brings the decay of the notes to a default absolute minimum of the synthesizer.